And then Alyssa, if you could please make me the host. I think there are some features that I can't access as a co-host.
Mhm. All right, that should be working now.
Well, one of the options I was looking for isn't showing up, but we're going to go ahead and dive in. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us today for Scheduling for a Successful New Year. This is the first in a monthly event for us for 2023. We're doing a new series called Ask the Organizer. So this month we're focusing on scheduling and goal planning for a successful year. Next month, we'll be talking about all things closets. And then in March, we'll be focusing on how to prep for a move. So we hope that you can continue to join us each month. These webinars are free, and we're just excited that you're here to join us today. And we hope that you brought a lot of burning questions. But before that, I'm going to turn things over to our fabulous operations manager, Alyssa Fuchs, and she's going to start us off with an exercise.
Hi, everybody. I'm Alyssa. Good to see you all here. So it looks like everyone's already taking some proactive steps to make this year a good year. And to start us off, I just wanted to do a couple of things. And the first is to just have everyone take 3 deep breaths so that we can really, set aside everything we've been doing all day. Maybe we've been running around. I know I have, maybe we were coming from somewhere out and about. But let's all just take a moment to take 3 deep breaths and just focus on where we are right here and what we're going to be talking about this evening. All right, thank you for indulging me in that. I find it's helpful to, just take a pause and reset sometimes. So this exercise we're going to do, it's pretty quick. And hopefully you have your pen and paper ready. I'm going to set my timer for 1 minute, and you're going to brainstorm. You're going to think about your values, and don't be too critical about this, or don't try to think too hard about it. Just write down whatever comes to mind, and it can be in whatever format works for you. If you're digital, go ahead and type it into your notes. I like to do sort of a mind map thing, but I'm going to set the timer. And we're going to get started in, okay, here we go. Everybody start writing. We've got about 10 more seconds. Okay.
Get disconnected. I've been disconnected twice, and the last time was right when you were giving the instructions. What are we writing down? I'm sorry.
Sorry about that. Just brainstorming our values. Just anything that comes to your mind as a value that you personally hold. Yes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I'll give us a few more seconds here to wrap up. Okay, let me All right. So the reason I wanted us to write our values is because this is the lens we're going to use to look at our year. You know, when we think about what we're doing currently and what we want to be doing, how do those things fit with these values? You know, if we say we value our relationships, are we spending enough time with people? Are we seeing our friends and family? If we say we value good health, are we setting aside time to, you know, make good food or to exercise? You know, everything, or, you know, on the other hand, are there other things that we're doing that maybe don't fit in with these? You know, maybe you decided to volunteer to be on a board last year, and, you know, while it's something very important, is it something that's right for you? Does it align with your values? Maybe there's something that you would rather be doing with your time. So I just wanted to focus us before we get into the conversation a little bit. And now we'll open it up to some questions. So did anyone come with some questions about scheduling or setting intentions or anything that has to do with, you know, calendaring for this new year? And I can't see everyone. I can't see everyone. So if you, you know, unmute yourself or, you know, just say something if you have a question, you can do that as well. Oh, hello. Looks like someone just joined us. Hello, Debbie.
It looks like she dropped off for a sec.
Oh.
One thing I was going to share about my values is I'm noticing that there are some that appear to be in direct contrast with one another. I have freedom and then I have security. I'm curious, you know, if other people have these paradoxes as well. And I'm curious, Alyssa, too, when you're using the values as a lens, are you honing in and choosing a certain number of values, or are you just kind of keeping it wide open?
Yeah, I guess it depends on how many values you wrote down, because you could have a lot. And I think a lot of times some of them can be grouped together. Some of them are sort of similar things. I like to start with, you know, something pretty broad. Like I, you know, say good health, like that's my value. And then, you know, coming off of that with little bubbles around it, what does that mean? It means, you know, cooking my own food. It means, you know, grocery shopping. It means exercise. It means getting enough sleep. You know, there are a lot of factors that go into that broad umbrella of good health. So think of it in general terms, and then as you go to, you know, schedule that into your life, think about how you're reaching that goal, all the different subcategories underneath that.
Thank you. And it looks like Elizabeth has a question.
I do. I am recently retired, and I know that we were talking about scheduling, and I mean, there's a limited number of hours in the day. So I'm just wondering if anyone has ideas about how to structure those hours. In terms, I mean, I think values is it's a great way to inform our choices of the day, but all of a sudden it's 6 o'clock and maybe I didn't exercise or I didn't do the thing that I had planned to do. So I don't know if all y'all are still working, but the working schedule and the retirement schedule is way different. So, I mean, just a thought.
Does anyone want to speak to that? Or I can, if anyone. Okay.
I actually am retired and working. I'm retired like 4 times and it's no good. I hate it. So I'm working now. I'm back to my main love, which is real estate. And the way that I make certain that I get both retirement and work in is I have a calendar and I treat it like a German train schedule. It is inviolate. And so that is, when you think of it like that, it's a gift you're giving yourself. It's not
The
a
group and you call
should.
me back.
It's not a should. Yeah.
Sorry.
I think, yeah, I think, you know, when we have sort of open time, sort of the lack of a schedule can be a little disorienting. It's hard to start anything if there's no sort of anchor. Because when you think about, I mean, you've spent so much time where everything is just like one thing follows the other. You get ready for, you know, you get up, you get ready, you eat breakfast, you go to work, you know, everything just kind of falls into line and one thing prompts the next. But it can be hard when, you know, there's nothing set in stone in your schedule. And then it's just like, well, I can do whatever. So now I have decision paralysis, so I'm not going to do anything. So I think finding times when you can have regularly scheduled things, like finding those anchors every day, and even maybe grouping things into a routine, like maybe say you want to take up writing, maybe you have this morning routine that involves, like, I eat my breakfast, I brush my teeth, then I write, you know, 5 pages, and then I, you know, maybe do a little exercise or something. But yeah, I think having something structured each day is going to help with that.
Michelle, I saw your hand up.
I was going to say sort of the same thing. My experience was I retired in 2013 when I moved here. I don't know how recently you're retired, but it was a big adjustment. I had a very deadline driven. I worked in publishing, and I had I managed several different publications and things, and so I had this super deadline driven job for 20 years. And then I was a high school teacher for 6 years. And then all of a sudden I was here and just sort of like, well, you know, I mean, it took me a year just to kind of do nothing, you know, just to sort of sit with it. I didn't want any more responsibilities for a little while, and I just couldn't do anything. And then I did find myself getting, you know, antsy a little bit. And I don't know, well, now with the pandemic, it's harder, but I found 3 or 4 things to, you know, kind of like when you said, be on a board or, you know, volunteer for a group. That was something that I enjoyed. And just having that, like, okay, every Wednesday is this. And I found that the less time I had, the more I got done in the time I wasn't doing those things because I couldn't put things off as much. Although it's a little bit harder now because there's not as much in-person volunteering stuff. But yeah, that daily, I'm not quite as disciplined, I think, as Phyllis might be. I can make a schedule and then I just, you know, somehow I managed to produce publications all the time. But for my own personal daily, like, I will do this, then this, and this. I'm a little more loosey-goosey, and it depends on, you know, whether there's a lot of birds out this morning or something, how long I'm going to spend with breakfast. But having a group of responsibilities or commit to doing something. I'm an artist. And so, you know, if I had like, oh, you know, I have to have a number of paintings done by this time, or, you know, I would set little goals for myself for those things. So, and I don't know how long you've been retired and how fresh you are out of the schedule.
Oh, I just recently, this doesn't need to be all about me, but I recently retired, and it's not that I have too many things I want to do. So it's not that I'm looking for, you know, I'm bored and looking for something. I just can't stop doing all the things that I want to do. So, but you know, everyone has their own sort of rhythm and journey, and I just
your threshold. Yeah, I volunteered for everything, and then I had to start cutting back because I thought, you know, I'm busier than I used to be. You know, I'm busier than I was before I was retired. And I had spent a couple of years working freelance, and it's kind of like that too, you know, where you're like, you're busy. It feels busy because when you work, every day is the same. And then when you're not working, when you're retired, you can pick and choose. And so all your days are different. So I needed a rhythm. I couldn't do, like, I'd have no idea what's coming this week. You know, I needed, personally for me, I needed, you know, some kind of rhythm to fit things into. But I did have to let some things go for sure. I was just doing too many things, but I mean, everyone has a threshold, what they can do.
I mean, Another idea is to, do things seasonally, like kind of pick and choose if you have too many things you're trying to do, like maybe say, okay, in the summertime, I'm going to do these types of things. And then in the fall, as it gets rainier, I'm going to do this type of thing and kind of rotate through. And then it keeps things fresh too and interesting. Oops, all right. Anyone else want to share what they are, if there's something they're trying to work on this year, if there's something they're trying to, maybe a habit they're trying to get rid of this year?
I'd like to get rid of, well, lots of files and papers and things. Things that I'm buried under. And I think
Yeah.
it's,
We can
it's
help
just,
with that.
oh, good, because it's like, ugh,
We
there's
can-
so much
Yeah.
and ongoing, yeah.
So in terms of, your plan for this year, have you started to think about how you're going to rein that in, or do you have to kind of get through the backlog first before you think about that?
I hope not, because it would be too long.
Yeah.
No, I haven't, but that's a good thought. Some of it is like historical things that I inherited or whatever, but so that can wait. But as far as, not having a 4-drawer file cabinet, who needs a 4-drawer file cabinet when you have a computer? I mean, I haven't gotten there yet. So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that's frustrating to me.
Yeah. Do you have, a few minutes of your day that you could set aside for dealing with any incoming paperwork?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's a good idea.
That could be a good place to start.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have a time when you like take your mail in, if that's a specific time of day, or just
Yeah.
whenever.
I would say it's not mail that's the thing. It's like onslaughts of other, it's probably unique and not to the group, but like
Okay.
Caregivers for my husband and different, it's just an incredible onslaught of having to sort things out.
Yeah.
Mail, I can sort basically in one fell swoop.
Yeah, recycling bin.
Oh, was that a Christmas card? Oh,
I thought I saw a hand.
It was Debbie. And Phyllis, I'm going to send you the link to our blog. I don't know if you saw it on right sizing paper from a couple months ago.
I didn't.
Okay, I will email that to you afterwards.
Okay.
Well, I was just going to say one of my goals this year is to kind of purge and downsize. And I find that I'm constantly like trying to hack away at it. So if I have to go like look for something, I'll start clearing that area. Paper obviously is a huge problem, but I've been trying to get rid of books and
Yeah.
donate, hitting it on all fronts.
Yeah.
I have closets to go through. Yeah.
Well, you're on the right track with, kind of starting small, because you don't have to, like tackle a room immediately. You can just start with a drawer. Like, okay, how much time do I have? Maybe a half hour. I'm going to go through this.
Right. That's what it's amounted to. And I have things that, I would like to maybe consign somewhere, but I don't always know where to take them.
We can give you advice on that. Just email us after.
And so
I'd
your
actually like
blog
to
is
on
what?
that too. Consigning, I'd love information on that. I did a huge purge and clean out over the past year. And I have a few things that I just couldn't donate. I know that it's never, you never get the money you think you're going to get for things, but there are a few things that, like have a Tiffany crystal bowl that I got from my wedding.
I have fur coats. I will never
Yeah, like you just
wear.
don't
I
just,
mean,
like,
I inherited this mink jacket and I'll never wear it. And
A few quick resources for mink coats, Debbie. You want to check out the Vault in Beaverton and the Assistance League also in
I
Beaverton.
did hear about the Assistance League. Okay.
Yeah.
I will check them out. I even looked at like places that sell used garments like that online. And what was funny was the prices for the mink jacket were way less than my knee length Persian lamb coat, which is that one I used to wear when I lived in East Central Illinois, but it's way too warm here and I don't want anybody throwing blood on me.
Right.
Yeah.
So the Vault, is that only clothing? Or
It's
is
a vintage store. So I'm going to put a link to our blog about how to consignment resources.
Great.
Oh, that would be great,
I'll
Whitney.
put that in the
Thanks.
chat too, so we don't
Okay.
get too off topic. But I was
Right.
thinking, Debbie, for me, it helps if you do have a concrete deadline to then kind of reverse engineer it. Like, let's say you want to list your house a year from now, then you kind of work your way backwards and set goals. It could be quarterly and then monthly and then chunk it down week by week. This is what I want to accomplish.
Good, good.
I also, wait, no, I am. All right, I'm alive. Okay. Donating, I don't know about mink coats or things like that, but recently one of my friends said, call the Vietnam Veterans of America. They will come pick up everything and put it to good use. And there's a whole bunch of veterans like looking for something to do in that age group, Vietnam veterans.
Yeah, and it's free. We have some clients who will schedule a pickup once a month, and then that forces them to continue to right size and go through their things because they have that deadline. So sometimes we need that external motivation and also that motivation to help somebody else. I think, rather than just, oh, I should do this, but knowing that your
Right.
efforts are going to benefit someone else and that you have this concrete deadline, I think can really help with motivation.
And same with, if you have like craft supplies or artist supplies, there's scrap, and sometimes it can be hard. I think they have one free day of where you can drop stuff off, but usually you have
Fridays 11 to 2.
Yeah, and usually you can, but if you're scheduling an appointment, sometimes it can be far out, but you can schedule in advance and just make that your deadline.
Yeah, they schedule because I'm with an arts organization that was holding an annual used art supply sale, and I was in charge of disposing of what was left. And scrap, it seems to me, was scheduled about 6 weeks out. But if you have less than like a banker's box full of stuff, the drop off is the best way to go.
Good. I also put a resource in the chat called Reclaim It, and it's a nonprofit in North Portland. They also have an online shop, but they take creative supplies that can be reused. And so art supplies, it's very eclectic.
Oh, cool.
And they actually go to the landfills and glean about 3,000 pounds out of the landfills, and then they clean it up and then sell it in the shop. So their goal is to help keep things out of the landfill. And it's a really great organization as well.
I think they're the ones that are affiliated with the Crackpot show out at Edgefield, and they'll actually bring stuff there and encourage people to take something home with them and be creative with it.
Yes, absolutely. But getting back to scheduling for a successful new year, I'm wondering what other burning questions folks have brought or what challenges people are having.
Well, we were talking about retirement, and I'm just going to share an observation. So I retired from full-time employment 8 years ago, and I retired from substitute teaching about 4 years ago. and I am a volunteer with a nonprofit. And what I have found is that I don't feel so retired anymore. And also that when I was working full time, I could kind of count on a certain number of hours in the day where my time might be scheduled, you know, like normal workday hours to some degree. But the challenge for me now is that, meetings are often in the evenings because some people are still working. And so some of those boundaries have changed a lot. And that actually seems to complicate things. Just throwing that out there. I don't know how many people have experienced that. But it's like when you're retired, the expectation is, well, you're always available.
Just
you
because you're retired doesn't mean you can't have boundaries though, Debbie. You still
Yes.
get to call the shots and decide what you're comfortable with. And if you're not an evening person and you don't want to do any activities in the evening, that is a-okay. But yeah, I think sometimes there is the assumption, oh, you're not doing anything all day. Can you help us with this or that? Well, I'm curious what types of planners people use, if you're paper people or digital, or if you're a hybrid of both. You know, do you have something that's tried and true that you use year after year? Or are you searching for something this year that would fit you better? So, you know, maybe you could learn from other people's experiences.
Well, Google Calendar crosses a lot of boundaries for me. I can always access my information because it goes from laptop to phone to tablet.
And to Google Maps, if you have an address in there, or,
Yep,
you know,
exactly.
it all integrates. Yeah, I use Google Calendar.
I have a paper calendar in my kitchen, just kind of for like in my face, month at a glance stuff, but I'd be lost without my phone.
Do you just use the calendar part on your phone, or do you have other apps?
No, it's all integrated. I've got the contacts on there, the calendar. Yeah.
Oh, I see a hand.
Yeah, so I use not specifically Google, but I use my phone just also, right, all the contacts. I use my phone for appointments. And, you know, when I first got a phone and it could do those things, I was so excited. And, you know, getting rid of, you know, the books that we always had to carry around and the big calendars and stuff. And then I found that, and it might be part of my ADHD, that this sort of out of sight, out of mind thing, and that when it's in a phone, it just sort of doesn't exist. And it was really easy for me to not engage with things. And all that was sort of happening, you know, around the same time, right? Like the introduction of you know, a smartphone and quitting work, you know, retiring, and it was all kind of at the same time. So I was kind of adjusting to a new life and also a new way to manage things. And I used to do really well with those little, like, you know, those little pockets, I had the little skinny, weak like this, and they always would fit in your purse, and I had everything in them. And I realized when I looked back at old calendar pages, and then when I was working, I had a huge desk calendar because I had all these, you know, various deadlines. And there's something, I might have spoken about it in I know in this group before, about ambient information. It's sort of like, it's the way that you write something. Like, you know, when you, like, here's my notes, right, on this thing that we were just doing, right? Like, I'll put that line there and then a little line there, and I have these things and that, and then arrows go to this, and like note taking in a class, you know. And it's a little bit of why studies have now shown that children students learn better if they take notes by hand than typing, because there's something about just typing a list of things for a day. And you can put little 1, 2, 3, 4 priorities on them, but there's something, at least for me, in the way that I wrote things. I still need a hybrid. And the thing I've come up with that I like the best, because I need to have appointments in the phone, right? Like that has to be in the phone, right? Because they're going to be there. The map is going to be there. You know, that works. That's a wonderful, wonderful thing. But for a lot of things, I have sort of an adapted version of like a bullet journal, where I can open it each day and, you know, or open it the night before and think about, you know, like 3 things I want to accomplish, 3 things I want to think about. And, you know, I can kind of categorize things that I want to do, kind of make an intention for the following day. And I find that works better on paper. You know, it was hard to get with a lot of these online kind of scheduling systems, because I would go days where there wasn't anything. You know, I didn't need to schedule something every day, because I had days that were just free days and I could do what I wanted to. It's kind of like the weekend days, you know? So I feel like I need a hybrid, and I'm curious if anybody else still uses any kind of paper thing as well as I mean, I would be lost without the digital. Absolutely.
Thank you for sharing that, Michelle. Casey's had her hand up. I don't know if it addresses your question directly or if it's a different topic, Casey.
I don't know how much it addresses. So with the caveat of I still work. I not only still work, I still raise a 15-year-old. And so I have a family, I work full time. I actually have the ability of clients can automatically schedule onto my calendar. So I have Calendly, and I actually also have someone else who can go into and clean up my calendar for me, because I am the queen of being interrupted in a conversation and someone says, hey, let's schedule. And I put a name and then walk away. And that's all I have. And the person who looks at my schedule says, who is that? And then I will say, oh, that's such and such. And they're the person who puts in the address for me for the Google Maps and all that, and make sure all the things that do that. But I am 100% tactile. And you don't get that from digital. I love digital coordinates with all these various peoples that I don't have to do the back and forth of coordinating schedules. But I definitely need every day to line out what the heck do I actually need to get done priority wise. So every day I actually do a priority schedule for me and everything. So I need to have my schedule that I look at and can go over in the evening, in the day, that's very important to me. But we have a wall calendar at home that we go through. We actually have 2. We have this month and next month. And we also have a little task that is, hey, these are the important things. So I guess we have 3, but that's for the family. So, you know, it's what works. We have gone through probably 5 different calendars of what works for the kid. And that's the priority for wall calendars, not just for we know what's going on with the kid, but the kid knows what's going on with the kid. So we're still working on it. And I think the kid's probably just as tactile as I am, but has far more ADHD. So we're working on it. And I think that figuring it out is very, it's ease for not just my mind, it's ease for everybody in what we're doing with. I don't have the ability to say that I do have multiple people that need to coordinate, and I don't know all the people that need to coordinate with it. But we have routinely re-examined everything, and that's really kind of what it is what works. I'm already phasing out of the Panda one, which was highly recommended to me. No, I skipped so many days and did not do so many things because it didn't work for me to just a journal. And I'll tell you, the bullet journals don't work for me because I can't, what I should focus on, I need it far more simple. Which is funny because I have so many damn calendars.
Yeah, I've really simplified. I mean, you would probably not recognize this as a bullet journal unless I have a day where I have a lot of things. It's mainly just a brain dump every night. And, random, things not to forget to ask the doctor. The three things that I mentioned earlier, and I learned this from an article by Oliver Berkman. If you're in the sort of time management, he's kind of an anti-productivity time management person. But anyway, it's 333 for time management, and I try to do this if I'm kind of losing. It's like when you start to gain weight again, you start measuring your portions again. It's like if I find myself really getting unmoored, I kind of go back to this to think about the next day. And again, if I was working, this probably wouldn't work for me. But I'll spend 3 hours saying the most important or current project that I'll spend 3 hours on, 3 shorter tasks or to-dos, like, make a phone call, set up a meeting, and then 3 maintenance activities, things that need daily attention, like, I don't know, I'm going to swipe out my toilet or, empty the dishwasher, those can go really, really low priority. But I kind of like the little 333. And I, for a while I had set up 3 little dry erase boards, and I would put my little 3 things that I was going to concentrate on that day. And it helped me get structure in unstructured days. I've spent this past year, I've had a lot of chronic pain, and I've had days where I'm unable to really do anything because it's sensory overload and everything. And so I started just sort of languishing. And I guess my plan for the coming year, I've had surgery. It was successful. I'm doing great, but I need to kind of make a plan of my hip had completely disintegrated. The femoral neck and ball had just disintegrated because I had an old injury there that had a screw in it. And when they put a screw in, it doesn't fill back in, it just falls apart. But anyway, that's been taken care of, and I'm in much less pain than I was, but I also, I'm a little weak and I'm behind on things. But for the first time, I feel like I'm thinking more clearly. So I'm looking at my next year as how to kind of get back on track again, because I was always doing like a million things, like just doing lots of things, and I need to start doing them again, but not too fast.
Would you say again what the 333 was?
Yeah, I can take a picture of this, and it's Oliver Berkman is who it's through, and he has a wonderful, he's sometimes a guest on podcasts. He has a really good little email newsletter. The first 3 is 3 hours. And so that's 3 hours on the most important or current project. Define a specific goal for the day's work. Like that's the really big one. I'm going to spend 3 hours doing this, whether it's, decluttering my things or working on my website or, whatever I'm doing. Then 3 shorter tasks. So it was like hours, tasks, and dailies, shorter tasks and to-dos. And examples of those are to run an errand, to make phone calls, to, if you have a meeting, a very, discrete kind of thing. And then 3 daily maintenance activities, things that need daily attention to keep everything running smoothly. So I don't know, just the normal house, the keeping of life running that everybody has to do. And it depends on whether you have people to do those things for you or not, how much of your own stuff you do. But, it might be folding clothes or, some kind of little pet management thing or, something like that. That's just not a project, but just a daily thing to make sure that you do at least 3 of them. And obviously you'll probably do more of those things, more than that during a day, but that's sort of my minimum for a day.
That's kind of fun. I'm going to play with that.
It is. It gives you some structure, but also creativity and flexibility at the same time. Which I think can be nice because sometimes when things get overly structured, it might not work for some of us, or we might rebel against it. I love Phyllis's concept of the German train system and calendar. But for some folks, that might be maybe
Yeah.
too structured. So we're all wired differently, which is fascinating. And Casey is obviously a tactile person and chose a planner based on that. So I think it's interesting, and it's important to know what works for us and how we're wired and how we process information. And I'm curious if there anybody who hasn't spoken yet today who would like to share an observation or ask a question or share a resource or an idea.
That's all right too. I mean, I want to go back to, I think it's pretty normal actually to be both digital and analog with with planning stuff. I hear that from a lot of people, and I love digital in in the context of work, where we need to see everyone's calendar at the same time and like schedule things automatically. And we use Asana for our tasks, and I really like that because you can check it off, and every once in a while like a unicorn or something flies away and you're like, oh, it's exciting. But for my own personal life, I like to have a planner, and I do sort of a bullet journal thing, and I mean basically I just use that dot grid method and then kind of free form with things. But I like just that when you do your own and you're not confined to printed planner, you can just reserve pages for whatever comes to mind and like do brain dumps, and it's all over the board. It could be like, okay, these are people I haven't seen in a while and I'd like to see again soon. Here's my list for that. Or here are some ideas that popped into my head of a party I'd like to throw, or just whatever it is. It's nice to have a place where you can compile all those things and know where to find them again. Because I know a lot of people, like to write things on little notes or something like that, and then you get notes everywhere and you can't find them. So I, highly recommend having one place where you put that stuff and making your own table of contents. So, just writing in the front after you've done that brain dump, okay, this brain dump X is on page 44, and you can add to it later. So I found that works pretty well for me.
I've also heard from some of our clients who are very digitally driven that they use Evernote kind of in the same way that Alyssa does, using a paper copy journal, just to gather little bits of information, ideas, photos, whatnot. So that could be a resource too if you're more of a digital person.
I'll put a link to that.
Thank you. I'm also curious if people use a word of the year for inspiration, and if you'd be willing to share what your word is for 2023.
I have one from 2022.
Sure.
I just figured out what it is for 2023 too. I used to live in Hawaii, and the word for last year was imua, I-M-U-A, meaning move forward. And then there's another Hawaiian word.
What is the word? I-M-U-A?
Yes, imua, imua,
Okay.
I-M-U-A. It's a one-word mission. Step forward. And it's also a hula term, but it's also like the mission statement of St. Louis High School on Oahu is imua, move forward. Okay, and the other, my favorite word of mine in Hawaiian is kuleana, which I can constantly am reminding myself of already in this year. And kuleana is that's K-U-E-L-A-N-A. pronounce every dang vowel, and there's never two consonants in a row. So kuleana. And it means a combination of two things: responsibility and privilege. One doesn't exist without the other. It is my kuleana. So that's my word this year.
love
I
that.
just figured it out. Responsibility and privilege. I don't know how to say it in English, so.
It's a little bit like noblesse oblige, you know, that the sort of from your privilege comes an obligation. Yeah.
Yep.
But I like the sound of this better.
So beautiful words, Phyllis. Thank you for sharing.
Thank
My
you.
word for this year is believe with an exclamation point. I don't know if that sounds better in Hawaiian or not. You'll have to let us know.
Might have to look it up.
I don't always even come up with a word, but sometimes it's like a few words or a phrase. But something I learned from a past therapist was to use that word in my passwords, because I'm doing that every day and it reinforces it. And then
That's nice.
That's a really clever idea.
Mhm. So you're just telling it to yourself over and over again every time you log in.
Hello, this is Phyllis.
Hi, this is Gail, and I had to leave for a bit. I had a family phone call come in, so my apologies, but I'm back. And I picked up just on the word. My word is change for this year, and big change. But I'll just use a word. It's change. And then Alyssa, I really love the idea of the password, because I've used my father and mother's birthdays for most of my passwords, so now everybody knows.
Yeah.
But I like that idea of maybe I'll change it.
James, there you go. You're changing right now.
Yeah, right
Changing your
now in
password.
front of my eyes. 'Cause that's what I want to see, is some significant changes in my life. So yeah, that's all I have.
Well, has anybody set some goals for this year that they'd like to share? You know, for me, I have a tendency to want to set a lot of goals, and then, you know, that can take us in a lot of different directions and scatter our energy. So this year I made myself hone it down to just the 3 most important. And then I'll be like doing my reverse engineering and kind of creating a timeline for the year based off of those. So I'm curious if anyone else is a chronic goal setter like I am. But I did read that you're 40% more likely to achieve your goals just by writing them down. So whatever your goals are, I highly encourage you to physically write them out.
Well, I have a goal of reducing my stuff, having sold a business in the last year, and I have unbelievable amounts of things to find homes for. But I'm also, it's overwhelming. I get so overwhelmed that I give up. I can't persist because it seems impossible to do it all.
I think breaking it down into those manageable tasks, or reaching out to ask for assistance with, you know, someone to walk alongside you to make something less overwhelming is those are some great tools.
Yes, that's a gift.
Yeah.
Well, besides downsizing, I'm focusing on reprioritizing and setting limits. I've been a treasurer for a nonprofit for the last year, and I did that because nobody else would do it. And I was the president the year before, and so I'm in the process of shedding that particular mantle and trying to tighten my focus a little bit more tightly. And Whitney, you know, from CMBA, we've attended presentations on learning to say no. And I have really been working at that. So
That's so great, Debbie. I think that's one of the hardest things, at least for me personally, and I know for many of us as women, because of how we're socialized, that can be so
yes,
hard. So I commend you for that. That's awesome.
I'm really working on it. I'm learning when to get involved and when to just step back and let somebody else step up.
That's a great point because, you know, when we think about goal setting in the year and everything, you know, there's often this pressure to, I guess, work towards something, but there are also things in our lives that, you know, we could let go of, and that can be a goal. You know, maybe the goal is simplifying, not
Yes,
doing everything.
exactly.
Casey, I thought you waved your physical hand a little while ago. Did you have something else you wanted to contribute?
Yeah, I might have. So you said about goals, and I wrote down my goal actually. My work goal, I guess I should say, is actually set on the fiscal year, and I met it on the 3rd, yesterday. So it's already met, so that, but rather than just upping it, I do think I'll make the next one, but rather than upping it, I decided that no more weekends work. So my balance goal is a little bit more of the priority, and I blocked out and I spent more time just on that balance of where my time should be spent.
That's great. Balance is so important.
And by the way, my word is ritrovare. It's going to be my word for about 5 years because there's so many different meanings to it. It is an Italian word, and this year is for the rediscover portion of the word.
Will you say that one more time?
Ritrovare, it's Italian, means to find, rediscover, to search, to find again.
Nice. Anybody else have a word or a goal that they'd like to share, or something that you'd like to let go of this year?
My goal,
Also trying to declutter. I mean, I did, one big round of declutter, but I know I have to keep going through. And I got paralyzed sometimes with it as thinking, I'll never get all of it done. And then a friend who was sort of, doing the journey with me said, less is success, right? Like you don't have to have it done. I think somebody else said, take a drawer or, one shelf or one cabinet or one little thing. Because there's such a difference doing it your own and having, you have a team of people come in and do it. And then when it's, it's just you and you have to run and take things places and put things in the right place and, not end up with a doom box of stuff that you just don't know what to do with. And, but yeah, anytime there's less, like every box that went out of here was a success.
Yeah, and that's a great point too, is don't forget to celebrate your little successes, because that's also what keeps us going. If it just seems like it's this never-ending slog to this, far off goal, it's going to be really hard to do. But, when you take the time to just celebrate those small victories, like, hey, look, I cleaned out this drawer, and like show your family and whatever.
And it feels good. It's like those little dopamine hits. I did because of, so physically, I usually keep like our pots and pans and heavy things like down on the cabinet underneath. And I move things and put those heavy things now, like my cast iron pans are at eye level in a pantry, and just moving things around that way. And I'll tell you, every time I did it this summer, and they all still look good. And every time I open a pantry, I'm just like, oh, it's so nice. And I even had an old friend, we've been friends forever, and she was visiting out here in June, and she was just getting herself a snack or something, and she said, oh, your cabinets and cupboards are so organized. I was like, I know, they look really good. I almost take more pleasure from those things being organized than the outer space, because it's like this little surprise every time you open it up, or the little pile that used to sit at the bottom of the stairs, when I come around the top of the stairs and I look down, it's like, look, there isn't a pile of crap at the bottom of the stairs. It feels so, it is such a dopamine hit when you do it. And I try to kind of maintain that, I just want an area, even when everything else is awful, like I did that area, that's really pretty. And that's how, like that, I can just sit and rest my eyes there, and have, that's how I want it all to be. And it's like, I don't know if any of you ever ironed shirts and stuff when you were little, but remember learning how to iron things that weren't flat? And it was like, it's okay if the rest of it is like this. Like right now, I'm working on this part, and this part looks really good. And maybe the rest of it's just hanging there, but then, now I can do the collar, and then I can do this. Just little by little, the whole thing gets done. But the progress, it's like the progress builds on itself, I think, a lot. And it just feels good. Yeah, opening those drawers. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great analogy about ironing the shirt in little bits and pieces. And I'm glad that you're pleasantly surprised every time you open the drawers and cupboards.
I am still.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Any last burning questions before we sign off for the evening?
Oh, I have a question. The links that you've been giving out and the information, the resources, are those going to be available to us for how long?
I will send a follow-up email with a link to this recording and links to all of the resources that were mentioned in the chat
Okay.
today.
Oh, thank
Great,
you.
thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us tonight. And I hope you'll come back next month to talk about closets. I'm going to invite a closet designer to join us, an expert to help answer some questions.
What is the date on that? Because I'm currently, that's what I'm working on. So I want that deadline.
Oh,
Do you know
sure.
the-
So February 1st, we're doing the first Wednesday of each month, at least for
Okay.
the first quarter, just to kind of see how that day and time works for everybody.
Then
What's
that's my
after-
goal. Okay.
So a Wednesday, February 1st from 4 to 5 p.m. And then also on March 1st, we're going to talk about prepping for a move.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and it sounds like we might be adding decluttering maybe for April. That seems to be a really popular topic with lots of questions. So if you have any ideas for us on, themes or topics that you'd like to see us address in the Ask the Organizer series, don't hesitate to reach out. Let us-
Organizing offices.
Offices, okay.
Thanks for organizing the
Yeah.
series.
You're welcome, Debbie. Thanks for coming. Thanks for being here, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, we hope you have
Thank
a
you.
really successful and productive year and a healthy one. Take care.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.